Good day everyone. So we are from group 9 and we are going to present our material about cultural conflict. But first we are going to introduce ourselves. There are 3 members of group 9. The first one is Aulia Rahmanda. The second one is Nur Khalifah Putri and the third one is myself, Rizka Dwi Aprilia. Okay, so the first material is about the nature of conflict and culture. A conflict is a feature that all human societies have. This means that it is inseparable from our lives, because at some point, whether we are still young or even mature, like now, we must have had conflicts. Either it is with friends, family, colleges, and it is an aspect of all social relationship. However, the causes of the conflicts might be different from each person, and that's why how a person sees the conflict itself determines on the methods of how to resolve the conflict itself. And as for the culture, generally it could be defined as a socially inherited and shared of learned ways of living that possessed by a person or member in their social group. For the next presentation will be continued by my friend.
B. Cross-cultural conflict. Cross-cultural conflict is a conflict that occurs due to intercultural miscommunication, resulting in a clash between individuals or social groups separated by cultural boundaries. The sources of cross-cultural conflict. Base Mayer-Indore 2004 categorized the sources of conflict into 6 major sources. They are methods of communication, emotions, history, values, structures, and needs. First, communication. Communication, as the method where people connect with each other, can cause conflict due to its complicated process in which greatly affected by cultural backgrounds. The process of communication started off with a message which is encoded in the mind of one person or the source that transferred through some form of media and decoded in the mind of the other person or participant. Second, emotions. Dana Endor 2004 stated that anger is present in every conflict. Anger is a kind of emotion, and depending on the depth of the conflict, other emotions may also be present. As the emotional level increases between the social actors, the difficulties of communication also increase. Thus, emotion may be the deciding factor in whether or not the conflict escalates or de-escalates. 3. Historical dimension. Historical dimension. Some countries have a long history of conflict between people groups which has devastating result to the land and people. Sometimes a conflict between two people may have roots in an event that is may years past. In this case, a conflict must be viewed within its historical context. 4. Inner value system. Inner value system is a system in which people develop within their culture. It is often evident in how people greet one and another and how people address one another. Values deeply rooted within one's culture, dictating a sense of morality in making decisions. Therefore, values could cause conflict on people from different cultures if both parties treated it as universal absolutes. 5. Organizational structure. Organizational structure, particularly in business or job-related, may cause conflict. For instance, when someone makes an effort to control another person in the distribution of work in the office. 6. Human needs. According to Maslow's theory of the hierarchy of needs, there are some basic human needs which drive individuals. Psychological needs, security and safety needs, belongingness and love needs, needs for esteem or recognition, and needs for self-actualization. A conflict occurs when one or more of those needs is not being met. Next, we'll be presented by my friend.
Okay, next is according to Pujianti and Juliani 2014, 112, the cause of cultural conflict occurrence is due to the result of ethnocentrism, misinterpretation, and stereotype. First is ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is a belief which one's own race or ethnic group is the most important, or that some or all aspects of culture are superior to those of other group. Within this ideology, individuals will judge other group in relation to their own particular ethnic group or culture, especially with concern to language, behavior, custom, and religion. These ethnocentrism attitudes cause people become critical of individuals from different culture. And then the second is misinterpretation. Misinterpretation happens because people fail to interpret the verbal and nonverbal communication correctly. As we know that nonverbal language is more difficult than verbal language because one culture to another has different sense and meaning system. And then the last is stereotypes. Stereotypes are generalization of people group based on past experiences which are developed in the psyche of the people. These stereotypes develop from jokes, textbook, movies, and television. Stereotypical beliefs prevent us from seeing people as individuals with unique characteristics. Negative stereotype may lead to prejudice, suspicion, intolerance, or hate toward members of other culture groups. And then the next is cross-cultural conflict. The case in EFL classroom in UAE. Al-Isa in Palmer 2016 described a few kinds of cross-cultural conflict that can occur in the UAE classroom. There, first is casual conflict between the sexes which might be acceptable in one individual's culture but not the other. And then the second is different expectation on eye contact, body language during class presentation. And then next is controversial opinion that run counter to the host culture introduced in class by the teachers. And then next is feedback on academic work that is worded appropriately for one culture but is offensive or discouraging in the other. And then the last is class material that is acceptable to one culture but offensive to another. And then next material will be explained by Rizka Dwi Aprilia.
Alright, so I'm going to continue the explanation about cultural conflict, but this time we are going to deal with this. The cultural conflict resolution, or how to deal with cultural conflict. According to Pujianti and Zuliani in 2014, there are several ways that you can use in order to deal with conflict, especially cultural conflict. The first one is you have to state that the behavior of other person is upsetting, like it is not acceptable for you or the culture you are in right now. And then the second one is a person is become the subject of the offensive behavior which causes conflict, but it is not so aggressive, like it's not threatening your life or something. So whether the person says apologies or he or she says nothing, you can just let go at the first time, just let them be. However, the third one, if the behavior is quite threatening, aggressive, and maybe cause damage for you, you can tell somebody like security or anyone who has the right to to subdue that person, to tell that person to follow the guidelines, especially in the place that they are in. And then the last one, if we still cannot be able to do that, like we can't confront them directly, you can tell other people, especially your friend, your college, or your supervisor, if you are in the office, or even a counselor. Right. I think that is all from me, the explanation about cross-cultural conflict resolution. Thank you.